Hello and welcome to New Junction. In this episode of Under Closer Inspection, we're going to be looking at this Hornby Sentinel in the Manchester Shipping Canal livery. But before we start, I want to say a big thank you to Matt Slades of Jubilee Road, as I was lucky enough to win this locomotive on the second draw on his recent competition. So big thank you, Matt, and I'll stick a link right in the screen just there. Now, this really is Hornby's ultimate no-frill packaging, as the box itself is literally one of their standard clear boxes. There's no outer sheath with a sort of picture of the loco or details. So this could be any generic wagon. The loco itself comes in the fairly standard plastic ice cube, which holds it fairly firm. And then in the box, you get no accessories. All you get is covers for where the NEM couplings are, if you didn't want to use them. More on that in a bit. Now, to give you a brief bit of history on the actual loco, it was originally brought to pass by Sentinel Wagon Works, which was a British company based in Shrewsbury in Shropshire, that originally made steam-powered lorries and locomotives. In 1959, Rolls-Royce took them over, and the prototype Sentinel was ready to commence trials on the former Shropshire and Montgomeryshire Railway. By the end of the same year, 17 had pre-sold, and the company was geared up to produce 4 of these engines per month. By 1963, 4 models were available to order, and between 63 and 66, a fleet was supplied to the Manchester Shipping Canal Company for use on their private railway network. During this time, these locomotives demonstrated their sustainability for such heavy work that was demanded of them. This particular model was the crank drive version, incorporating the 040 wheel formation. The end came about as load volumes increased and bigger, more powerful engines were needed. The Stewart and Lloyd's Mineral Division, who were at the time operating 20 steam locos, had shown interest in a new bulk order, but they were offered 26 of British Rail's Class 14s, which were in themselves a white elephant, but alas, at a fraction of the cost of the Sentinel. Ultimately, that twinned with supply issues and the demand for bigger locos resulted in the end of the Sentinel as we know it. Today you tend to see them on private yards, mainly scrap yards or preserve lines. They do a lot of coach rolling stock work, but due to them being normally private assets, maintenance is often forgotten, and they are literally used within an inch of their life. So once they've gone, sadly. There's not too many I know about around. They're definitely not as common as the Class 08, which is a shame, but makes for a nice engine. So let's go for a closer look. Now, with this model, I will say that it is genuinely tiny. It is quite literally the size of a wagon. So just bear that in mind when you see the detail. If this was on a larger loco and it was as roughly plain, as this, it wouldn't be praised at all. But because this is so small, it's actually really sweet. But a lot of details you'll be seeing is because the camera's so close. So just bear that in mind. I've just put it side by side with my Class 47, just so you can get a gist of the size, and it literally is the size of a wagon. So quite a sweetie. All that being said, it's still quite a nice loco. The paintwork on it, as you see, all the lines are extremely crisp. I mean, the lines, particularly on the hood, as it were, are particularly sharp, and then not even a hair's width, which is fantastic to see. And it still comes with sort of footplate detail in behind the bar, and there's also detail in the cab, which I'll try and show you in a moment. Moving on to the front of the loco, again the grille is very, very fine, and for the size of the model is extremely detailed. I mean, you can just about see to the sides the detail, the footplate detail, which is textured, which, to be fair, didn't have to be. It does have little lights on the side and in the grille. They're non-working, but for a model of this size, I wouldn't expect them to be. Remembering also, price point is about £40 to £50 at the time of filming for one of these, so you do get quite a lot of engine for your money in that sense. Spinning around nearly 180 degrees. This is the rear of the loco, and of course you can see you've got another engine grille on the rear. It's not as detailed as the front. There's no grid, but I do believe in real life it was a fake anyway. This model doesn't have sprung buffers, which I know I pipe on about being a sign of quality. It's normally a nice touch to add to a bigger loco, but same again with this loco's price point, etc. I wouldn't expect them. Now, this is in real life, to my eye, it's very difficult to see through these windows because they're so small. But on the camera, it looks quite good. You can see there's a dash console to the right hand side, and you've even managed to fit a wheel in on the left. Because of the moulding, it sits over where the chip would be, because this is a DC ready loco, which I should say is a 4-pin. Takes a 4-pin chip. There's not quite enough room for a driver, but you'd probably have to saw the legs off a driver if you wanted to put one in. Going back to the front of the loco, this is where the accessory packs really come in. As you see, the what would normally be relatively small couplings actually look quite big on this model because it's so small. However, what you get in the pack with it, if I can focus you in, that was a no. You can see these bits actually come off and replace where the coupling is and fill in the buffer. So what I'm going to do is swap one over for you now and show you the comparison. And as if by magic, there we are. I imagine if you really wanted the authentic look, you could weather that up a bit and you wouldn't even see the gap. But it's a nice touch for them to even include that on a model with this price point. So let's go on to putting the chip in. We'll see how difficult that is. After a quick study of the instructions, it looks fairly simple. You have to turn the engine upside down, and the rear NEM coupling, which is this one, has to be removed, and the two central screws, similar to that one there in that hole, there's another one underneath here, have to be taken out, and the body should lift off. Now that the socket's been removed, you can see the two screws, one being there and there. There are this sort of plastic detail. This literally just hinges up. It's very delicate, but with a pair of tweezers, as you've seen, easily done. Now we're the right way up again. In the manual, you do have to, before you can pull the body out, you have to ease the base of these rails on both sides, front and back, just off the bottom chassis. And it's actually the front one here, and there's one there and one there that have to be eased out. As you can see, they're now out of their holes, so the top should come off. So I could transform this. Ooh. The whole thing should just lift off. I've still got one caught. And there we are. That's now the inner shell open. In theory, this part here should lift off, revealing the chip location, which it does. As you can see, you've not left with much room at all. The port for the chip is just in there. So we'll get that switched over, and away we go. And there we go. That's my 4-pin chip installed. We've just got to tuck it out of the way. It does just fit in the original space, but dear me, that's extremely tight. As you can see, the cover has gone back on, not smoothly, but I don't think you're going to get that in there without some jiggery pokery. So I'm going to leave it like that, put it back together, and we'll get it running in on the layout. So all in all, a very quirky loco. It does provide a very unique level of detail to a layout in the scenarios you can run, etc. For example, I've just played out getting ready for the Heritage Line service by sorting out the freight. So it does provide another level of detail there. And there we go. You do tend to see these things more often than not on a preserve line or in a scrapyard somewhere, hauling away probably your favourite loco, but they are a little workhorse themselves. Generally you see them ragged to an inch of their life, like I said earlier, or on a preserved railway, usually under a tarp and under a layer of moss, long forgotten about. the poor things really are a genuine tiny little workhorse. I'd just like to say thank you again to Matt Slade of Jubilee Road for putting on his competition, which I was lucky enough to win. That was a really nice idea, and I'm obviously very pleased to have won it. If I can win the next one again, that would be great. But do go and check out his channel. Link is in the description below. But otherwise, I'll leave it there, and I'll say take care, and I'll see you next time.